Welcome, ladies and gents, to the Tangents Podcast. This is our very, very special episode. This is the Buggy Boys episode of Passion as a Business. This is our special segment we do on the Tangents Podcast where we talk about doing what you love as a business, doing what you love for a living. And we talk to people at every stage of the game, whether you're starting out, whether you're where you want to be, or whether you're somewhere in the middle. Today, we're talking to Nate Dionisio. Am I saying that right?
You are saying that right.
Perfect. I was practicing for a week. Also known as Coco on Twitch and Caffeine. And you are a photographer. How did that all come about?
Ooh. Ooh, that is...
Well, let's start here. You said that you had a different job. Welcome, Mind Blaster. You said you had a different job before you were a photographer.
Yeah, I used to work for a bank, a major bank here in Canada. I graduated in accounting, so that was one of the weirdest things to go from one end of the spectrum to another. You know what I mean?
For sure.
Behind a desk to being out in the field, meeting new people, talking to new people, capturing things that are basically important memories for people. So it was really different. So I started in the bank, and I guess one day I woke up. I was like, I really don't want to do this anymore.
Welcome, Fit and Fluffy.
The luxury to say that, you know what I mean?
Right.
And at that time, I was. So this was about 10 years ago. So I was 24.
Okay.
Yeah, 24, and I just wanted to be away from my desk.
Understandable.
Yeah, hold on 1 second. Let me show this.
Quality.
Say hi. Oh, she's like. Sorry.
Hi.
So, yeah, that's one of the things that I thought of right away was I don't want to be behind a desk.
For sure.
So took that leap of faith, quit my job, had savings for a good couple of years.
Nice.
So that I could actually like focus on it.
For
And
sure.
I think one of the things that who showcases that right now is Caf. Like on Caffeine, he has savings to do what he loves, and he can do it 100%.
Right.
That's like big. If you want to do something that you love, make sure you're prepared for it.
Absolutely. Blaster here. Feel like he's trolling a little bit with "Aren't you behind a desk right now?" I think he's talking about somebody else's desk, working for somebody else.
Yeah, working for the man.
The man.
Working for the man. Working for someone else. You know what I mean?
For sure. So you didn't want to be behind a desk. Was photography something that was part of your life, even before that, even prior to that decision? Was it just something like a hobby during that when you were making the big bucks?
My dad had always been into photography. So growing up, I'd always seen him behind the camera. So he used to work for a company that sold cameras. He used to work for a company that developed film. He used to do all of that. And for me to get into that, it was just natural. It was just natural for me to actually be behind the camera once I picked one up.
For sure.
And the camera that I got when I first started was like a Sony A200. It was nothing close to professional. It was nothing close
Welcome, Teach.
It was just really an amateur camera to learn stuff.
For sure.
What I did for my first year was I did work for free. I worked for free for like a good year and a half.
Nice.
Different studios, asked them if I could carry their bags, I could take notes, I could take photos for them and give it to them if they needed them. And I worked around Toronto for about 9 different studios for a full year. Learned everything that I needed to learn.
And that's I think that's underrated. A lot of people, a lot of entrepreneurs, they talk about work for free. Put in the work, show out, and then when it's time to charge people, that's kind of second nature. People are going to be ready to pay you because you've already shown the value.
Yeah, definitely. It's like basically apprenticeship, right?
Exactly.
So you put in the hours, you show that this is your passion, and people will figure it out and respect you for that.
For sure. Now, how do you approach that? I mean, how do you just say, like, do you just walk in and, hey, you're a photography studio, I'd love to work for free? Like, like is that kind of the hardball pitch? Like, hey, I want to work for you even if it's for free.
Okay, so there was this forum that I used to follow a lot. It was another photography guys forum, and all the network Toronto photographers would flock to that forum for critique and everything. So it's called fredmiranda.com. I don't know if they still exist. But I used to go on there and I used to see all these different photographers put up their photos, and they would get critiqued and they would get advice, and some people would put other photographers down for having a different style and everything, but they were all there, you know what I mean?
Sure.
I'd message them on there and just ask them, hey, can I work with you sometime? Like, work for you sometime? I just want to carry the bags, see how you work. If you have an engagement shoot, bring me along. I'll come for free. If you have a wedding, let me carry your bag so you don't have to worry about that. And that's how it started. Like, the one thing that a lot of people don't realize is the professionals that you look up to, you can message them and they'll be very personal with you. And they're no different from you, right?
Definitely. Yeah, they're just at a different stage of the journey. It's the same, you know, you're doing the same thing. It's just that you're starting and they've been doing it for however many years. So you got the Home is Toronto. I've got the Shed Aquarium. This is my wife's. This is my wife's mug. It's been around so long. This side, the other side's actually worn down. Got to get that coffee.
Yeah, I gotta get that coffee. One second.
Isn't that just the most adorable child right there?
No, she wasn't like this before the interview, and now she's like, "Hey, I'm doing something. I'm gonna ruin it for him." Oh man, sorry about that, guys. She's gonna be around in and out of the shot and stuff.
Yes, Coco is a photographer. He does wedding photography out of Toronto primarily, but you've been everywhere, man. You've been all over the world. I know you were just in Bali recently.
Yeah, I was just in Bali, headed to Hawaii in a little bit.
Nice.
I have some shoots. So September I have Ottawa, which is also sort of Ontario. So yeah, Hawaii is basically the sort of like second base.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So during my off season here, I because there's off season here in Canada, which is like December to February because of winter. So during those times, I like to travel.
Sure.
Hawaii is sort of that place to go, especially for shoots and boutique shoots and editorials and fashion and stuff.
Makes sense. What was the first place you ever left that wasn't home base? That wasn't like that. What was the first kind of out of your box experience?
Colorado. I went to Colorado Springs.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and they had hired me. It was a cool like story actually, because we had a vacation at Dominican Republic. So my friends and I, we went on a vacation, and then we were playing volleyball, beach volleyball with these guys, and we overheard that they just got engaged. And then one of my friends was like, my buddy was like, "Hey, my buddy is a photographer.
That's a good wingman right there.
You guys should get some photos done while you're here, because the resort like photographers aren't that great." So they're like, "Hey, just go with this guy. He'll do it for free." I'm like, "Oh shoot, I do have my camera gear and stuff." So we did the shoot. It was amazing. At the end of the shoot, they tried to pay a little bit of money. I was like, "Hey guys, don't worry. This is your engagement. Congratulations. This is our gift to you, whatever." And like 2 weeks down the road, they contacted me through Facebook and were like, "Hey, we want to hire you because the photos are amazing. Let us know how much it is." And then so they hired me, went to Colorado Springs, had a great time, and from there that was the first like out of town experience in terms of the business, and it just snowballed from there.
Nice. How much would you say you spent? How much time would you say you spend locally versus internationally? I mean, like not even just out of town, just internationally.
40% of my business. So let's say this year I have 52 weddings to shoot.
Wow.
So half of it is not here.
That's wow. I mean, hey, that's a lot of travel.
Yeah.
And it sounds like you enjoy it. So like that's just bonus, right?
I do enjoy it. But that's why we want to expand the business, because I don't want to miss out on moments with the little one.
For sure.
So like expanding the business is top priority in terms of getting other photographers to work for me, and I'll still do the edits kind of thing. So if you guys are photographers, you can recommend.
There you go. There you go. Get that plug. I'm always for the shameless plug. What has been kind of the hardest thing coming up? I mean, you're I would say, I don't want to say there's no, to me there's no end to the journey. You're just where you want to be, what you want to be doing. What has been the hardest part of getting to that place? Like, I mean, the decision to like leave a money making gig. I mean, accounting is, I think everyone understands that accounting makes money. So literally, what besides that hard decision of like, I'm gonna take a hard pivot here and literally stop making money for a while and do stuff for free in the hopes that I get to do what I want to do. Besides that, because obviously that's a very difficult choice, but like, what's been the hardest kind of thing along the journey?
To keep going at it every time you wake up that first year and you're not seeing results. So like that was the hardest part. So there'll be times where you get so discouraged where I'm doing this for free, like I want to make money, and then you have people who told you like, hey, why did you quit your job? Like,
Right.
it's, why would you do that? Like, that's so dumb. Like, people would say that, and that's discouraging, right? So you go to sleep, you think, oh, I had a great day, I had all these photos to edit, I took photos for this other studio, and the next day you're like, why did I just do that? Like, I could be earning money instead of giving away my time, which is something that I can't get back, you know?
Right. Very true.
Yeah, so having that drive was the hardest thing to keep going. Like, because once you become self-employed, it's not just about one little task. It's about 20 other different tasks that you do. So to be able to keep that drive for all those 20 other different tasks is what is hard.
For sure. For sure.
I didn't know about it. A lot of people don't know about it. Like when people think, hey, you're a photographer, you think I'm just taking photos.
Right. You take some photos, you send the email, you're fine.
Yeah, that's not how it is. There's so much work that goes into it. 10% of taking photos is the process. Everything else is like the marketing, the emails, the client meetings, the editing, the exporting, the installing hard drives over. I have like millions of hard drives in the basement.
Nice.
So I have millions of hard drives off-site as well, just in case. And these are things that you have to do.
Right. Backups on backups. I appreciate that. I've made many a video about backups, so I appreciate that you have multiple backups. No, I completely understand. That's the struggle. I mean, like, I know for myself, like, we do some video stuff, we do some tech stuff on the side, and like one of the biggest things I always forget to do is literally send the invoice, get paid. Like, oh, it's done, I can move to the next thing, and then I'm just like a week later, I should probably get paid for that. Like, so it's very Fit and Fluffy. This is actually Fit and Fluffy Vlog is my wife. She's.
Oh, hi, Fit and Fluffy. Welcome. Thank you so much.
She's a big fan of photography. So.
That's good.
It's well, lost you. This is what happens when you're live, folks. This is what happens. I hope his computer didn't. Oh, it did. Okay, you're back.
I'm back.
You're back. Okay. I was like, I hope your computer didn't just do what mine did 10 minutes ago.
It just did. It popped up that there's an update.
Freaking Windows, man.
I have it not set to like automatic. So.
Freaking Windows. Every time. Yeah, we definitely the daily grind, man. That's kind of getting that mentality going so that you can get up every day and do it. Because at some point you also are coming up against the issue of, I love doing this, but there is so much more than just doing it. I mean, there is the taking of photos and the editing of photos, and like, if you could just do that, it'd probably be way easier. But then, like you said, there's the marketing, there's all this other stuff that you need to do to make that viable, to make that sustainable. So that just it's just adding to that uphill climb. The steepness of the incline just keeps going.
There's a stat that they have, actually. It's an interesting stat. So here in Ontario, I'll just use Ontario as an example.
Sure.
There's every month there's about 3,000 plus weddings going on.
That's crazy. That's an insane number to me. There's not even there's that many couples like every month.
Yeah, every month there's 3,000 weddings going on.
Wow.
So to be part of that stat of one of the photographers that they look to inquire with, you have to always keep posting stuff. You always have to keep like connected somehow.
Sure.
Because there's so many photographers coming in, right? So many people out there who buy the gear, who have a camera and decide to go into it. It's definitely a profession that everyone strives for when they have that artistic eye and when they feel that, hey, I love taking photos, why don't I just try it?
Right.
And I totally respect that. That's how I started. But again, there's that work that people didn't know that comes along with it.
For sure. And I think especially now with all of the cell phone companies, like everybody's making stuff, you know, the price of admission, right? The barrier for entry is so low now. Used to be, to be a photographer, you had to get gear that most people didn't even understand. There was, you know, to get something that was a viable camera for photography, it was multiple thousands of dollars. It was you had to know a lot about it just to have it work right and have it do the things you want to do. But now it's people, you know, you look at, you know, an Apple commercial, a Samsung commercial, it's like it's one click and it's professional. And so you have a lot of people just coming into it with that space. And now I kind of staying on top of it and staying ahead of all that is definitely, I could totally see that being a big effort of it.
Oh yeah. So Mind Blaster says there's a joke about the guy who got paid $2,000 just to fix a machine by screwing a bolt.
It was $2, 1998 to know which one to screw. Yeah, exactly. It's about the skill. It's about the experience. It's about the knowledge. At the end of the day, I mean, like I do tech support. I've been working on computers. I've been disassembling computers for the better part of 20 years now. And when people tell me like, "Oh, what about this?" Like, no. Like I get you heard that term somewhere. I get it, but trust me on this. Trust me on this. I get it. You know, but people, you know, as I'm sure. Like I'll be honest. I know, even though we do a lot of videography, but like I know 50% of the stuff. So like when I hear a term that I'm like, I know what that means, but I don't exactly know what's going on. Like I take a step back and I let whoever's talking do their thing, because like I understand that there are some people that just are gonna know more about stuff. Like, you know, cars, I know 10%. My cousin, 80%. If he's talking this, I'm like, cool, that's awesome. Like, I'm not gonna tell you how the car works because you know and I don't.
That's the thing, right? It's we'll get clients that have heard terms, and the hard thing about being a wedding photographer is you get clients that read magazines, wedding magazines, and one of the not to jump on the magazines. It's good.
Sure.
The couples, like I love that they do.
Right.
But the one thing that I really wish they would stop giving advice on is asking for raws. Like I've had couples who ask for the raws, and I charge for doing that because those are like just unedited. Those are unedited everything. You can do whatever you want with it once you get them. If you decide to pay for them, you'll get the licensing with it. It's all yours.
Right.
Ownership is all yours if you pay for it. So I've had couples who have done that, and they'll come back to me the next day and just be like, "Hey, how do I open these raws?" I'm like, "This is what you asked for, though, right?"
Right.
Like, yeah, we paid X amount of dollars because, you know, we thought this is what we needed. And I'm like, I thought this is what you knew, right? I thought you knew about it. This is why you asked about it.
Right.
So, a lot of the time, people have these terms in their head and they don't know what they're saying, right? They just heard it from somewhere, and they think that's what's best for them. But that's why you pay us. That's why you pay us the big bucks, because we're supposed to know that for you.
Right. Exactly.
For you, so you don't have to have that extra step. So guys, don't ask for raws.
I've played around with raw editing, and like there's a lot to it, and they're way bigger files. So like if you don't have the right software, like you can't just pop it into Windows and be like click, here's the photo. That's not how things work. Like they're bigger files. You actually need software, like photo editing software, to edit and to actually view them. So like it's a whole different ballgame. It's a whole different ballgame.
Mm-hmm.
What has been the best experience you've had working for yourself, doing what you love? What has been like the best part of it?
The best part or the best moment?
Well, let's have a best moment first, because it sounds like you got something in mind.
Okay. I'm gonna send this photo to you, and you can show your viewers. Oh man. So there's a backstory to this. Do I have it here? Anyways, I'll show you later. But I'll go to the best part. So the best part would have to be the free food.
Free food. That's a really good reason, man. I feel you on that.
Like it's in my contract for whenever people hire me. They
gotta feed you. They gotta feed you. Yeah, for sure. We did a wedding where they didn't feed us, and I was like, I don't understand.
Oh, no.
I was like, I don't understand. What do you mean you're not feeding us?
So yeah, that's probably the best part.
Free food for sure.
Even for like editorials and stuff, there's pizza that the studios would get. They would feed us with that, and yeah, it's. If you want a more deeper answer.
No. That's a perfectly acceptable answer. It's in this field, it's that. In other fields, in other lines of business, it might be something else. Might be free cake. Who knows?
I'm gonna send you the photo. And this is the best moment.
The best moment. Okay. Oh wow. I think we definitely need some context for that.
So this was 10 days before my dad passed.
Oh wow.
And it was just my daughter. She was probably about like just turning a year old. So about 14 days before she turned a year old. And my dad had a moment with her. Like we all had left the room, and I know Cassie couldn't understand anything, but my dad was talking. So I snapped a picture, and in the picture he was saying sorry for he might not be able to make her birthday. And but he was happy that he got to meet her, he got to love her, and that he always watch over her. So that this moment like beats every other moment that I've ever taken a photo of. And this is why I do it. To catch moments like these for families. And yeah.
Wow. That's powerful, man. That's incredible. That's a lot. You know what? I'm glad that you were able to have that you were able to witness that, and that your daughter has that to you'll be able to tell her that story, and she'll be able to appreciate that moment.
Yeah, and that's why it's basically I want to freeze time for people so that when they look back on their memories, they have something tangible that they can look back on, and they can talk about this. Like they can talk about it with their families and their kids and their grandkids and so on and so forth. We want it to go on. A lot of people think, oh, you're a photographer because there's money in it. It sustains my lifestyle, but I do it just for that same reason why I started it 10 years ago, was that passion to just capture memories. I mean, and more so to capture love, even if it means love between a grandfather and a granddaughter, or between husband and wife, or sisters or brothers, anything. Love is love. I'm gonna capture that, capture memories, and freeze it for you. That's what I do.
That is super deep. That's wow. That now I feel like I need to do some soul searching personally, like find like a deeper reason for the thing that I do. Like I just absolutely, Blaster, feel free to ask any questions you have. That's why we do this live. That's why we don't just have this as just a regular old podcast and broad and video. We love the live conversation. Of course, for those listening and watching in the future, this is recorded live every Thursday for the most part on caffeine.tv/T3G Media. So make sure you join us for the conversation. Do you think that taking photos has turned out of fashion?
Turned out of fashion?
It's unfair. Blaster's Portuguese, so his English is different. Has gone out of fashion, I think.
Gone out of fashion.
I have a lot of photos, family albums.
Yeah, gone out of fashion. I think there's, because of how everything is so accessible now, especially with phone photos and all that stuff, people have stopped printing things, having something tangible in front of you, like a family album, right? I used to have a ton of family albums when my dad was around. That's why he took photos upon photos upon photos, and he would have albums.
Welcome, East Pioneer.
And yeah, I think it has, honestly, because of the accessibility of photography. People just keep it on the cloud kind of thing. They make slideshows, which isn't bad. I think that's for our day and age, for the new kids, the younger generation. That's what they'll know as albums to them, right? And hopefully the cloud is something that
doesn't go away, right?
doesn't go away.
That's why you need double backups, local and cloud. But I guess it doesn't have the same meaning. I don't.
A memory is a memory, right, Mind Blaster? A memory is a memory. If you keep it on the cloud or you have it printed out, I think it has its meaning behind it. But yeah, there is something different about holding something in your hand that is tangible. So to each their own, each generation, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. I think it definitely varies as far as how you experience it. I mean, if you grew up in this digital age, like, you're not gonna have the mentality of like, oh man, I wish I had some physical stuff. But I think that also translates to the stuff that people do print out, the stuff that they put it in a frame and they put it on a shelf in their house. I think that gives it a little more value, you know, like, to a point. Like, the photos that I've got when I used to take physical photos and get them printed out, I look at them now and I'm like, this is the kind of stuff that you just post on Facebook. Like, I printed out stuff that now you would just never do that with. You would never print photos. Like, I went to college and just took like rolls upon rolls of photos, and I'm just like, none of this would make it to print in 2017, 2018. It just wouldn't. You know, it'd be on Facebook, sure, but not the same feeling. Yeah, no, it's definitely not the same feeling. I don't think it's, you know, to kind of go to my Wednesday show, comic books. We were just talking about this yesterday. There's a feeling of holding a physical book and reading it. I mean, I think it's the same thing with ebooks. You read books online. That's one experience. And, you know, for me personally, I've had moments that I read so much digital material now. If I read a physical book, and it's the most embarrassing thing to admit, like, to anyone. I'm reading a physical book and I tap the right side of the book to turn the page. And I'm like, oh man. Like, it's rough. Like, I know how this works, but I'm just so used to it. I'm like, tap, nope, that's not. Damn it.
I mean, it's the same thing with the younger generation these days. Like, I have a niece uh, from my wife's side. So her niece is like 8, 9 years old, and she's unfamiliar with anything that doesn't have like a touchscreen.
That's insane.
It's insane.
Like,
It's funny that we grew up on both spectrums. We know both sides.
yeah. Yeah, we've been around for the whole thing. We've been around for the whole process. So like,
Thankful for that.
oh my goodness, I can't even imagine a life where like if somebody put a keyboard in front of me, I wouldn't know what to do with it. like tap gaming only.
This is how my dad used to type.
And that's another thing, right? That's another thing is like he was already at an age where that was going to be harder to like catch up to when it came out. Like I was in 7th grade the first time I had any experience with a computer. So like it was the perfect time. Like I literally came up as computers evolved. So I've been around, you know, my first like home computer was a friend of mine's computer, and it was Windows 3.1. It was a black screen with white text. Like no idea, like I couldn't even possibly tell you how to use it now. But back then I was like, no, I can type a document in this, no problem.
What was the first game you played?
The first game, so in 2000-ish, this was like my first house computer like, that we owned at home. My mom picked up like a whole big rig. It was like a computer. It had a graphics card at the time. It was a gaming graphics card. It was a Rage 128 megabyte, and it was fantastic because it came with games. It was like nowadays that doesn't happen anymore. But back then you'd get whole games, not even just demos. You'd get whole games in the early 2000s with computers. It had a game called Expendable, which is now, by way of like the internet being awesome, available to play on Android, and it's this like third-person alien shooter, and it's so fantastic. And the first 360 flying game, like full 360, like fly in any direction game, Shockwave Assault. I fell in love with like real flying games at that point. That's why like
I think I know that one.
Dude, it was so fun. It was like a Martian attack, and you'd go through these like really terribly rendered like Egypt. There's just like pyramids, and that's like Egypt.
I know that one. When you say Egypt, that rings a bell.
It was such a blast. And it was the era when like cutscenes were literally just like films that they would just throw in there. It was like real actors, people who I've seen on TV. And I was like, this is so crazy. Like, how are you in a video game? Nowadays, it'd be like 5 times as expensive, and they'd render that person. What was it? Advanced Warfare? What's his face? The disgraced Kevin Spacey was in it.
Oh yeah.
Like he was in it, but like, you know, he had to just sit in front of a camera.
Yeah.
Command and Conquer, Age of Empires, exactly.
All about that. I was like, my first one was like the Doom. Like,
Ooh.
Doom. That was-
I played Quake a few months ago. It was insane.
Man. Oh, those are the days.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Technology grows so quickly. I mean, that wasn't even 20 years ago.
Yeah.
That wasn't even 20 years ago, and that's to me the like beauty of technology. That's why I love technology. I look at something and I'll look at a cell phone on any given day, and I'm just thinking like, there's so much in here that like my tower that was as big as my body when I had it didn't have. Like, it's so nuts. The favorite thing, welcome Full Throttle. Full Throttle is the other half of T3G Media. I watch Gary Vee a lot, and he always whips out a cell phone and he says, Ronald Reagan ran the free world with something less powerful than this. And I'm just like, that is insane. Like, that is within my lifetime, and that is insane.
Yeah.
Technology has evolved, and now how has that affected, to bring it back around, because this is tangents, when we go on those, how is the like evolution of camera technology? I mean, I know there is the law of diminishing returns. The more you spend, that every $1,000 that you spend is less and less of an improvement. How has the evolution of camera technology affected what you do and how you approach things?
Well, right now the change that they're doing is making things smaller. going mirrorless and all that stuff. So that's basically for the comfort of the photographer. Image quality is still the same. Image
Right.
quality is still up there. Yeah, so that's from. I came from a film kind of age, like seeing my dad sort of like going into film and be part of that decade. Now the whole digital stuff, it's like there's not much that can change every time I upgrade.
Right.
So my last upgrade that I've done was probably like the 1DX, the Canon 1DX.
Sure.
That was my last upgrade. And from then on, it's been more of honing the skill, learning new things, learning about lighting, how I'm gonna work with different scenarios and different moments. So it's all now about the skill. So I want to feel comfortable enough where if someone hands me like, let's say, what do you call those? The prosumer, not really prosumer, below prosumer. I'm not gonna say amateur. I don't want to. But like a starter camera that I could still take good photos with.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, my blaster's not a Canon guy.
Entry grade.
Yeah, entry grade level cameras. So yeah, like I'd want to be able to be comfortable enough and Nikon.
Can't be a Nikon boy and not spell it right.
Nikon. Yeah, Nikon.
I mean,
I used to shoot Nikon.
I was gonna say you said you have a couple different. You shoot Fuji, right?
Fuji, Canon. I used to shoot Nikon. I used to shoot Sony. Like I've been through all the different ones except for like Pentax and Sigma, and I've never really tried those ones.
You don't use any Sigma lenses?
I used to use Sigma lenses. Yeah, I used to use Sigma lenses. I used to have the 35, the 50. I sold those, and I actually want the 24 to 70 in the Sigma 24 to 70.
I heard about that. We were looking at lenses a while ago. And we heard about that one.
Yeah.
Having experienced kind of the gamut of the major brands, what have you seen? Like, what do you prefer with one over the other? I mean, like, I know the big thing about Canon, people always talk about Canon glass. Welcome, Luke, to the broadcast. Canon glass, I hear, is like the big move there, and the autofocus. The autofocus is kind of monster on Canon, I'm not gonna lie.
Mm-hmm. Well, each one brings something different, right? So they can't, like, one, in terms of processing colors, Canon is more on the red side in terms of warmth.
Okay.
And you have Nikon, which is more on the colder side, blue-green. So your files would come out a little different, especially once you start putting them through processing. And then the glass, for example, they are backwards compatible for Nikon. You can use older G lenses in their lineup from back in the day. Like the Nikkor lenses, they can use those.
Oh, wow.
Canon, yeah, but Canon, same kind of thing. EF. As far back as you can use an EF lens, that's how far it goes.
I was gonna say, because some of the models will still take like the old film lenses.
Yeah, so as long as it's an EF mount.
Right.
And you can always get an adapter regardless, but then you'd have manual focus for those. But yeah, so in terms of difference-wise, there's not much. Like, all of them have caught up when it comes to how high your ISO can go, how high it controls grain on it. The autofocus, it used to be all about Nikon, now Canon has showed up. Sony, with its autofocus, is amazing. Like, they've caught up. It's a mirrorless full frame. Like, they're the first mirrorless full frame cameras.
Yeah, I saw that and I was like, man, I kind of plus the in-body stabilization for video is a monster. I mean, for photo as well, but like I saw the in-body stabilization, but the Panasonic already has that.
Mm-hmm.
Panasonic already has the in-body.
Has that. Yeah. So like all of them come with sort of the same kind of stuff. Like Fuji, mirrorless. ISO control is amazing. Focus is amazing. Like it's all now down to the photographer.
Now it is, and that goes back to what we were talking about. It's the skill. Anyone can buy the $1,000 camera. Anyone at this point. It's like I said before. It's not this ridiculous barrier for entry anymore. It's not this $5,000 monster that you have to save up for. You could buy a $500 camera and still get pretty decent results. At the end of the day, it comes back to the person behind the lens.
Yeah.
It's what you're gonna do with it. It's the composition, the lighting, the basics. The basics. Like anyone can point and shoot. Anyone.
D3100. That's a good camera. That's a good camera to start with. Like mine was pretty much equivalent to that when I started. It was an A200 Sony. It was like a 8 megapixel camera.
Nice.
Got into the primes. That's one thing. I only shoot primes.
I don't know what that means. I'll be very honest.
So shooting primes is fixed lenses, fixed focal length lenses.
Okay, so you can't.
You can't zoom in or anything.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So I usually have two bodies on me, 35, 85 length, focal length. So those are the ones that I use most of the time. If I need something more of a reach, 135. That's as far as I go, and then something wider, you'd have the 24.
Nice.
Because I need that aperture. Like fixed lenses have like a lower aperture in terms of like f1.4, f1.8 kind of stuff. Right?
That's fair. Usually, and like that's the thing is, it's the difference of photo and video. When you're looking at different aspects of it, that lower aperture is beautiful, but man, without the stabilization, it's rough. It's rough. It's rough to do video without the on-body stabilization. But I mean, I think with the Sony and the GH5, that probably wouldn't be an issue since they have the physical in-body stabilization, not the lens. You don't even need this lens stabilization at that point.
Yeah. Can you imagine? Like, I've had friends who've had the Sony, and you can use a Canon lens on it with the Metabones adapter, and it'll have that in-body stabilization. So it's like, oh.
Man, that's just the best of both worlds right there. Oh.
And it's five stops, right? That you can actually go down to. So you can go down to like taking a photo at 1/50th of a second, and it won't come out blurry at all in terms of you. So.
That's nuts. That's nuts, man. That's nuts. The photo side of things, I'm still like learning. I'm still learning about the shutter speed and all that stuff. Just trying to do some cool stuff with it, but like. I mean, I won't. I'm very much at the like learning phase of a lot of stuff. Like I can execute video with my eyes closed at this point. But now it's like you said, it's getting into the minutia, getting into the nuance, getting into the proper framing, proper lighting, all this stuff. Like all the little things that make it that much better.
Yeah.
What up, Ducky? What up, Duck? Welcome to special Buggy Boys presentation of Passion as a Business. By the way, y'all, check out buggyboys.com, thebuggyboys.com, and of course the Buggy Boys on Instagram and Twitter. Make sure you check us out. I'm shameless, man. I'm shameless. What's something, let's say non-technical, because obviously there's a lot technical that could be in this answer, but what is something that you've learned? What's like a lesson that you've learned from working for yourself and doing kind of this thing full time? This is being recorded, my friend. Yes.
When it comes to the business aspect, one thing that I've learned most about being a photographer on the business aspect is 3 is 2 and 2 is 1. That's a good piece of advice to have, especially when you're shooting out in the field at a wedding, for example. So 3 cameras means you have 2, because you're always going to use 1 as a backup, and 2 is 1 kind of thing. So be over prepared. It's better to be over prepared than under prepared, because I've had cameras flake out on me. I've dropped things. I'm clumsy sometimes.
Rough.
Right. So, and the one thing you want to do in front of clients is freak out when you drop something.
Right.
Yeah. Right.
So, like
What I'd always have backups. It's the one thing I've learned from the very beginning. I've dropped something in the past, and I just be like, oh, don't worry about that. I'll grab another camera. And I grab one out of my camera bag, and I'll be like, oh, okay, what's nothing to worry about. So that's one of the best pieces of advice I can give anyone in the business. Now, when it comes to as a person in the business, taking good photos isn't enough. You have to be personable.
Damn.
You have to know.
Now I owe Blaster $50.
You have to handle relationships well, right?
For sure.
So it's definitely, especially if you're in the wedding business, because these couples are trusting you with one of the most important days of their life, and you have to give them experience that they're going to remember for the rest of their life. I want them to look back on their day and be like, hey, our photographer was amazing. That's what I want them to say. Not just, oh, he took good photos. I want to say he was a guest, he was part of the family. I want them to remember that. So like one of the little things that I do is I remember everyone's names, especially at the wedding party.
Okay.
So I'll call them by their first name. And that's
major. That's major. That's like,
once the day's over, it's done.
hey, as long as you got that 10-hour memory span, it's all you need it for. The temporary memory. That's all it needs to be there for.
Yeah.
Once it's done, it's done. But that's major, man. I mean, I know how that is. And like, we had Full Throttle is, like I said, my cousin, his wife is a photographer. She did our wedding, and like her knowing us was very, very like key. You know, being able to say, hey, Dalibor, hey, Erica, like just having that connection. It makes you kind of feel more at home, and that's the thing. It kind of lets you blend in. It lets you blend in because you're not just like, excuse me, sir, I'm not sure what your name is. But I think that really working for yourself, working independently, definitely I think that's a huge element of it. Is being personable, being able to deal with people on a one-to-one level. That's why I tell my customers, like, I like being able to talk to you like a human being. You know, like my day job is tech support, and someone else gets to decide how I talk, and that to me, like, it's not genuine. It's not who I am. So I like the people that I work with. I'm like, hey, I appreciate that I can talk to you like a human being. I can talk to you like, you know, say, hey, you don't need that. You just don't. Like, I don't need to do some flowery stuff, and like, you know, it's just, this is my honest opinion. This is coming from me, not coming from some corporate overlord. So to close it out, what would you give as advice to somebody who is at that crossroads? They're at that accounting job. They dread sitting down at that table every single day. They cry on the way into work.
If they're crying on the way into work, I think they should leave.
Hey, but you know what? It's hard for people. It's very, very hard for people. Because I'll be honest, I'm personally very honest and transparent. I've been there. The job I do now, you know.
Random dead spot.
I did my work office upstairs. It's in a room. It's in a closet. I can close the closet door and just be like, done. I'm away from the workplace, because it used to be in like kind of the same space as all this stuff is in my old place, and it sucked. It sucked terribly. So I but there's rough days where it's like, it's been a rough week. It's the last day, but it's just like, I hate it. I hate walking in. So but I'm in a position where, you know, I bought a house and I have financial responsibilities. So that's something where people have to weigh all this stuff. But let's say the financial stuff's taken care of. They have the money, but they're still uncertain. They don't want to take the gamble, because what if it doesn't work out? What then? What would you say?
Slowly prioritize your passion. So slowly leak it into your everyday. Do it little by little, while still having that day job, while still keeping that income coming in. But when you have free time, prioritize your passion. As it gets there, it'll grow. You'll learn more. You'll grow with it. You'll love it more. Keep loving it. You know, if you prioritize it, you make time for it. So there are days where it sucked. There are days where it sucked, where I'd be at work and I'm like, I don't want to do this. What do I do? But then when I found out that passion for photography, at the same times I would, like, at the end of the day, I'd be excited to go home to play with the camera. I'd be excited to go home and to do that stuff. And then until it became a bigger part of my life, where I had to prioritize it, where it came to the point where I couldn't just brush it off to the side anymore. Right? And that's what it is. Just have your priorities and slowly make that passion a bigger priority than the thing that you hate.
That's great. That's outstanding. That's brilliant. It's brilliant because and I think that's one of those little things that people take for granted. Like you do have you work 9 to 5. What's happening 7 to midnight? What's happening 7 to 2 a.m.? I'm not gonna claim ownership of that. That's a Gary Vee line. Like what's going on 7 p.m. to 2 a.m. What's going on? What are you doing? You could be watching TV, you could be catching up on Game of Thrones, or you could be doing what you love. You could be pursuing your passion, whether it be learning it, whether it be practicing it, whether it be whatever, whether it just be observing. If somebody's doing if you're into photography, go hook up with somebody who's doing a night shoot.
Yeah.
See what it's about. See what they're doing. I've been in that position. I got off work one day. My cousin called me and said, "Hey, you want to come shoot this Murcielago?" And I was like, "It's 11 o'clock." Like it's 11 o'clock at night. I'm like, "Yes." Where? But yes. It was very much like taking that opportunity. It was, we had talked to our buddy Dustin. He said he wanted to do a video of his car. And we're like, for sure, we'll come up with something. And then he just calls me. He's like, yo, he wants to do a night shoot. I was like, yo, that's cool. And then there's a town, Rosemont, Illinois, is big. It's got a convention center, but it's got a lot of lighting because it's kind of a convention business area. So we're like, yeah, we should, like, that's awesome. That's brilliant. We happened to luck out. There was not, like, cops involved. Like, we just went. We did a bunch of shooting. It was fun. It was just a fun experience. And it was one of those things, like, we figured out how to do things on the go. Like, it was zero planning. We went, we're like, how are we going to get this rolling shot? How are we going to get this other shot? So take those opportunities. If you get off work and you're like, I want to photograph the sunset, find a park, find a forest preserve, shoot the sunset. Mm-hmm. Do it at your backyard. Who cares? I like it. Nate, thank you very much for being on the show, for being available. I know we had a little bit of a scheduling situation, but I'm glad that we were able to set that up. I lost your audio.
Yeah, sorry.
No, that's all right. No worries.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
No worries. I appreciate you hanging out. Appreciate your wisdom. I love the story. I love the journey. I appreciate you sharing that photo of your father. That was beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah, man. Thank you so much for hanging out.
That's all I don't know.
That's all you got. All right, fair enough. Those watching and listening in the future, make sure you guys check out. All the links are on the screen down below, down in the description if you're on YouTube. Check out youtube.com/T3G Media. That's got the link to the podcast, which is a different channel, but doesn't have a fancy name yet because we don't have a lot of subscribers on the podcast channel. But at the very least, check out Nate Dionisio, NateDionisio.com. Check out the photos. They're beautiful. Check out Nate Dionisio on Instagram.
No, check out T3G Media on YouTube.
And I appreciate that. Check it out, and let us know what's going on. And if you're looking for a photographer, he does leave the country, so hit him up wherever you are in the world. Takes beautiful photos. Thanks very much for hanging out. Thanks everyone in the comments, in the chat. Natasha joining us for the last moments. Thank you. Thank you all for hanging out. Thanks for the questions, Blaster, Ducky, Natasha, and my wife, who has gone back to work, I'm sure, and my cousin. Thank you guys, and we'll see you in the next one.